Post the Fed, post the BOJ this week, we're expecting the US central bank to stay the course when it comes to continued tightening going into the end of this year. The Bank of Japan expected to do really more of the same. With that divergence in policy, where do you see the yen ending up?
Well, I think yen would probably be between $1.10 and 115, and it will probably move within that range for some time to come. You know, as you said, Bank of Japan is going to continue easy monetary policy, and U.S. is tightening, so that dollar is somewhat strong, and that makes yen relatively cheap, and it will probably move to 112, 113. But it will not go toward 120. It would probably be between 110 and 115.
Okay, but what about the case for yen's strength if we get, more concerns out of North Korea?
Well, North Korea is not that much of a problem for the Japanese economy at this moment. What could trigger the appreciation of yen is that if U.S. economy hits a peak, and or New York Dow hit the peak and start to weaken somewhat, then dollar would sort of weaken a little bit, and yen would probably break 110, and it will head toward 105, and that could happen toward the end of the year or early next year.
It could happen, but that's not your base case scenario?
Well, my scenario is that eventually, I don't know when, whether it's December this year or March next year, that yen would strengthen toward 105.
Mr. Sakakibara,
that is based on my sort of yes.
Please continue.
Yes, go ahead. Well, my base sort of scenario is that eventually U.S. economy hit the peak, and there are some concerns about Trump administration, so that sometime in the next 6 months or 7 months, the dollar start to weaken somewhat, and that will probably result in appreciation of the Japanese yen, breaking 110 and heading toward 105.
Do you think the BOJ needs to do more to achieve its inflation target?
Well, I think, government and people of Japan are reasonably satisfied with what the Bank of Japan has been doing. They are sort of conducting easy monetary policy. And, Japanese economy is growing at, 1.2, 1.3%. That is a reasonable growth rate for a mature economy like Japan. And no major dissatisfaction with Governor Kuroda at this moment.
And Governor Kuroda's term ends early next year. Just in case he does step down and doesn't continue as the BOJ governor, do you see the current program of the Bank of Japan under question?
Well, Mr. Kuroda, my sort of guess is Mr. Kuroda would probably, be appointed again, but he would probably retire after a year or 2 years after the reappointment. The general rule is that Ministry of Finance people and Bank of Japan people alternate. So after Mr. Kuroda, Bank of Japan people would become the governor. And at this moment, Mr. Amemiya is the most likely candidate to succeed Mr. Kuroda. Probably Mr. Kuroda would be reappointed in 2018, and Mr. Amemiya would take over around 2020. That's my guess.
And very quickly, 10, 15 seconds, sir, do you think the Bank of Japan will ever raise interest rates?
Not at this moment. They are not thinking of the exit at this moment. They are going to continue easy monetary policy for another 6 months or a year. And Mr. Kuroda is not thinking about the exit at this moment. He may start to think about it after the end of the year or early next year, but not right now.